you can still create your rich life through your corporate job. You don't need to lose your soul to get promoted. Sometimes people feel like, oh, I deserve a promotion because I've been here for 2 years. It's not about your tenure. And a lot of people think, okay, if you've got strength and you've got weaknesses, you need to really, really focus on your weaknesses so that you can get your weaknesses up to a certain standard. That is not the best use of your time. People need to recognize, play to your strengths. If you're good at one particular thing, it doesn't mean you can't get promoted. You just become a specialist. Not everyone's meant to be a leader. Not everyone's meant to have a team. So there's this thing called the 9-box grid. What normally happens in companies is they map their team against this grid. So a lot of the time, the highest performing employees have recognized something before it's about to go wrong. Introverts are a weapon. They are underdogs because the power that introverts have is they can step into any room, read the vibe, figure out where they need to place what they want to say, and it will just land so perfectly. But sometimes I feel with extroverts, because confidence is a currency. And the thing about self-promotion, especially for anyone who's listening, who's grown up in the UK, is like if you promote yourself, you're cocky, you think you're greater than thou. The thing is, you can end up being so humble that you fade into the background.
You're not defined by where you come from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big message that I always want to tell people.
Like you have to be able to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
When you grow up in ends, you don't realise it when you're confident, but you have an audacity to do things that ordinarily most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Ato. We have a special guest in the building, Ivy, who is a human resources professional with over 11 years experience, mostly in the luxury fashion industry. Ivy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're going to have fun, and I'm excited that we're having this chat.
Me too. I think it's going to be a great conversation. I mean, we had an offline conversation, so I'm very, very excited for people to, hear this, especially like nowadays, like 2024, I feel like it's been like one of the hardest years in terms of for people to excel in their careers, for them to be able to find a job. So yeah, hopefully we can help them with that. So who is Ivy?
Who is Ivy? I love that question. So just to keep it short and sweet, I'm a first generation corporate girly. As you've said, I've been in this industry for over 11 years. First of 3 girls, Ghanaian and Togolese. I actually learned how to speak English after I learned how to speak Tree as a child. But yeah, I'm here. And for me, it's all about working with people. It's something I've been doing for a really long time. And I've just realized from working in the corporate world, there are people losing their soul to the corporate world. There are people thinking, oh, I've got to earn this X figures. I've got to climb the corporate ladder just so I can be of a certain status. But I'm just really excited to speak to you about what I've learned. And it doesn't have to be difficult. Like you can still create your rich life through your corporate job, and you can have a fulfilling life that way as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that you said rich life. I think that's important. I think a lot of people want to have a rich life. And I also like the fact that you mentioned lose your soul, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize that they're going up the ladder, but they're losing a piece of themselves as well. And I feel like, this conversation hopefully can teach people not to do that and figure out the path that works for them and not to follow like the status quo or follow other people as well. So cool. So let's talk about your story, right? So you mentioned that your parents are from Ghana and Togo, right?
Correct, yeah.
Did you say you were born?
So I was born in this country.
Okay, you're born here,
but I don't know about you, but when you're the firstborn, and so me and my sister, we've got a 7-year age gap. So I was that kid who was playing in the corner by myself with no friends at home, obviously, until my sister came along. So even as a young child, that's why I just spoke with my parents. That's where the tree came from. And then obviously when I finally went to nursery and school, that's when I learned English. But yeah, I was born in the UK.
Okay, cool. Whereabouts mostly?
Northwest London.
Northwest London.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what does that face?
Specifically, where?
Why the face?
Northwest is all right. I mean, look, I'm from South, so
I
can't chat really. Like, I can't say nothing. Whereabouts in Northwest?
Do you know like Queen's Park area?
Yeah. I know. Okay, so what was it like for you growing up in Queen's Park?
So, do you know, I really liked it growing up in Queen's Park. I will be honest, like the schools that I started off going to, they weren't very diverse schools. But back then, when you're in school and there's loads of other people who don't look like you, and you always feel like you're that person who stands out a bit. But to be honest with you, I think even at a younger age, I use that as fuel to... Oh, sorry, I just touched it. Even at a young age, I use that as fuel to do things that would stand out because I already stand out anyway.
Okay, cool. Wow, wow, wow. How do you feel like that experience? Do you feel like that experience shaped you in any way? Did it bother you?
So it didn't bother me, but I saw it as, do you know what's crazy, Atto? Is like even as a younger child, I always felt like there's more, there's something to learn, there's something to uncover, there's just always more happening. And in order to understand and explore that, you just have to step out. So as I start getting older, you know what it's like secondary schools, okay, it was getting a bit, the area wasn't gentrified at that point. So,
Okay.
but then over
Yeah.
the years, obviously mingling and mixing with more people who look like me. And this is the thing about why I call myself the career hype girl, because for me growing up, I didn't have access to those like
Yeah.
cousins, mums, friends, brothers, aunties, uncle who knows someone who works here or someone who works here. There was no knowledge of like investing. Well, there was, but yeah, I didn't have access to it. So a lot of what I have learned is just through like figuring out for myself.
Yeah.
So I'm so thankful that I do have younger sisters that I can be like, look, here's what you need to think about, maybe consider things in this way. But for me, like I didn't have access to the experts and the knowledge. So it was a lot of like failing and then trying and failing and trialing. And I think when I finally got into a place where I was in a state of flow, as in things just felt a bit effortless, that's when I realized I was thriving even more in work. So yeah, it did start from a younger age, just not being around the people who had a certain thinking and who looked like me, but that I feel helped me to just keep pushing and keep moving forward as well.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. I mean, I love to hear that. I love the fact that you said that you felt like there was more for you. Where do you feel like that came from? That like that more for you thinking
from
like
my
that?
parents. Are you first generation as well?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit complicated because I wasn't actually born in the UK.
Yeah.
I was born in Europe, in France.
Okay.
And then I moved here
So
like
let's
young.
just say, yeah.
So
Yeah.
technically, yeah, really,
Yeah.
yeah.
So tell me if this sounds familiar to you. So when you were growing up, your parents must have been like, okay, Ato, when you go to places, don't talk too much. Just observe. I was getting that IV. Listen, you know, you've got to work not twice as hard, maybe 3 times as hard. You know, just thinking about the opportunity that we've had, like our families have had, to place us in these European countries where it's like, okay, so now we're at a good position. Why don't we make the most of what we have? So for me, it's that whole thing. It's like, okay, let's just go for it, because actually we can't lose something that we personally have never had. Maybe our families have had to make some sacrifices, but do you know things? I even like using the word sacrifices sometimes, because what I think happens is we carry that as baggage and as trauma. And as we go through adulthood, there's always that feeling of, oh, I've got to prove back, I've got to justify. So I don't want to use the word as sacrifice. I think I would just say our families made wise decisions to position us in wiser places and give us the
Yes,
opportunities that maybe we wouldn't have had before. So I would say that is what kind of made me feel like, right, I've been given something. Let me see what I can do, because yeah, with God, it's going to be possible.
I love the fact that you were so introspective that you've thought that, because I think that as well, like almost like, oh, like wasting the effort that they
Yeah.
made to bring you here, so
Yeah.
you might as well try and make the most of it. And you know, it's sad that some people don't have that mindset, but at the same time, I'm not gonna you can't force everybody to
Yeah,
have that
exactly.
mindset. So yeah, that's very interesting. So what were you like in school? Were you into school, not into
Oh
school?
yeah, I was a proper geek. I'm not
Really?
gonna lie.
Okay,
I was a geek, but I
okay,
wasn't
cool.
good. I wasn't good at my
So
studies.
wait, so you were a geek but wasn't good at
So,
studies? Okay.
I was nerdy, but I wasn't wise book smart. I'm more smart in terms of
Okay.
life experiences and more
Right.
like wisdom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Okay.
when it came to like exams and things like that, you know, you have some people who don't do any work, they just rock up and they're killing it. For me, it's like, no, I really need to learn. But what I now know as an adult, which I think the school system failed us back then, which was like, yeah, the 90s, right, is they did not, I feel, well, where I went, they didn't really take the time to provide like personalized learning, teaching experiences to the way different kids learn. Like we probably see it in work today. You've got neurodiversity, you've got people who are more creative, you've got leaders who are visionaries, you've got leaders who go down a more dictatorial style, then you've got the ones who are coaches, because people show up differently. So I just wish back in school, if there was just a little bit more attention, who knows, maybe I could have got all A's. I don't know. But I was really good at like writing, communication, those type business, those kind of topics.
So you were into certain subjects, and you feel like you had let me not say personality, but you may have needed a different, let's say, teaching style, right?
Yeah.
Not just the one size fits all
Yeah,
teaching style.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. How did you find school?
yeah. I mean, it was up and down for me. I think that I was one of those people that wasn't that motivated by school
Wait, what age are we talking about here?
at all.
Okay.
At all of them. No, if I'm being honest. So I think that I had the ability, but I just wasn't motivated to do my best just because I didn't really think much of it. Is the
Okay.
truth. That's just my personal,
Okay.
and I think that's because that's probably because I wasn't sure in terms of career wise what I was gonna do. I think at some
Okay.
point I decided, oh, I wanted to be a lawyer, so I was kind of worked hard towards that. And then when I did my law degree, I was like, oh, actually, I'm not really into that anymore. I want to do technology. But then I did my law degree. I wasn't so great. I didn't do great at that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna prove that actually I'm not a 2-2 level. I'm above that, and I proved that to myself. Huh?
What's wrong with the 2-2?
Nothing's wrong. I just felt because the convention at uni is 2-1. So I was like, no, I'm that level. Like that's how I felt. And so I was like, I'm gonna prove myself that I can actually, meet my ability, right? I feel like some people have the ability, but now if I tried my best and like I didn't do it, fine, but I knew I didn't try my best. So I was like,
Okay,
you know
I
what,
got
let
it,
me
yeah.
actually do the best I can. And then I proved it. So I was like, but I also realized that actually I learned through pictures.
Okay.
I've learned this more recently. I learned through pictures. So I'm not the type to be reading text and I can just absorb it. Some people can do that.
Yeah.
They can, like, they've got photographic memories. That's not me.
Yeah.
Right. So what type were you? Were you like read it or picture or something else?
So for me, when I learn something new, I need to pretend I'm teaching it to someone so I
Okay.
can remember it. So this sounds weird. I even used to have to make, when I was revised, I had to make PowerPoints. And we're just,
Okay,
I know,
wow.
no, literally, because
Wow.
that was the only way I could remember things. So that
Okay.
is a particular learning style. And that's the thing, like, no one told me to do it. I was just figuring out so many different things. I was like, hang on, this is working for me. Let me rock with this. So even now, I'm doing my coaching qualification, and that's something
That's
that I'm using
interesting.
as a technique. There's so many different models and frameworks that they're thrown out there. I'm like, okay, this is not making sense in this moment, but let me replay it to myself, and that's how I'm remembering everything.
Wow. So did you end up going to university?
Yeah,
What did you study?
so I did journalism at university. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did
So
you?
I wanted to do something fun at university
Okay.
because I thought, well, for some reason, I was so confident that I thought, no matter what happens, after university, I will get a job. So let me do a degree that I will love so I can do well in it. And then after that, I just pivot and step into whatever I want to do.
That's very confident.
So yeah, I don't know where that confidence came from.
That
I was
is
like,
very confident.
because I loved at school, I was really good at English literature, writing. I love reading. And for me, journalism was about speaking to people, absorbing people's energy, like empathy, communicating and writing, being creative. So that for me was like, that was so exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mad. So when you finished uni, you finished journalism. What was like the first kind of role you started to? To
So
do?
I actually started off as a recruitment consultant working for a company that placed candidates into retail-based businesses.
Right, okay.
So like when Arcadia existed, like your Top Shops, House of Fraser, I don't even think they're around anymore.
No, I don't think
yeah.
so. Yeah.
So
They might have
all
gone to,
I think they're not. So all those kind of retail positions. So people in head office, people who decided what the range collection looked like. So all of that kind of stuff. And funny story. So I got my job before I finished university, and I was speaking to my lecturer. I was like, I've got this job. I've got a real job. Like I need to leave ASAP. And even I was interviewing, they were like, we're not sure. We've never hired anyone your age. Okay, we'll give you a chance. You're 20, but okay, we'll put you on a junior scheme, some graduate thing they just made up. I don't know. For me. And then I started it, and I really liked it. But the thing, not all recruitment agencies are like that. But the one that I started off with is you had KPIs, you had commission, and we had targets. But every week you had to interview a certain number of people, whether there was a job or whether there wasn't a job. That's the thing.
Right,
And then it got to a point where I wasn't hitting my targets. I'm not going to lie, because I was just exhausted of calling people when something didn't exist. And,
Or calling them when a job didn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was all about numbers. For them, it was like the more people you contact, the more people you'll have coming in, the more candidates you'll have ready. So the intention was you got people ready. So when there were vacancies, you could fill them within 24, 48 hours.
Okay.
But my thing is, like, there are people who are saying no to other job offers they're getting, and we're being taught tactics to kind of say, well, actually, there's this other thing over here. So then I realized I started giving people advice and started coaching them. And I realized my candidates, I was giving them advice, that kind of thing I wasn't meant to tell them. And I realized, actually, if I get a recruitment job in-house, in a company's team, in a HR team, instead of working externally, then I've got the best of both worlds, because I'm helping people thrive, but there's no like commission. I'm just doing it just because.
Interesting. Okay. So that's like a bit of a full circle moment for you.
Yeah.
Makes sense why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now it's like you've kind of landed into your purpose, and we'll kind of discover that a bit more as well. Wow. So you kind of maybe by accident discovered that you like to coach people. You
I
like
guess
to
so.
share this stuff with people. Yeah.
Even at uni, when I did my final project, dissertation, I made a documentary, and it was all about employability, graduates going into careers.
Yeah.
By the way, I never even knew what a HR thing was. I was like, what's a HR? What's a human resources? What's a recruitment? All I knew is I wanted to work in fashion. So I thought I had to be a designer to work in fashion.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing. When you come from households or families where you don't really know what's available, you just assume there's very minimal professions in the area you want to go into. I think that's why a lot of people look like us, go to work in like government-based jobs, jobs with like good pensions, but then later on in life they're like, hang on, I'm not actually being fulfilled. I want to pivot. Then there's whole like, oh, I've got to take a salary drop, but actually I don't really want to, because I've set up my life where I'm actually living to a particular standard. And so actually, no, I've now got a family. Can I really afford to take a drop? So my whole thing and what I teach is like, no, you need to set yourself up right. And don't be afraid to pivot, because there's so many transferable skills, and there is a way to sell your transferable skills so it doesn't feel like you're starting from scratch. Someone who works in a restaurant as a waitress can work in sales. It's all about people, how you communicate, how you're offering something to them, and it's an agreement, a transaction, and you get people to say yes. So I think, there's that element of it as well.
Yeah. Hopefully we can help people with that today. So obviously, so your career, so that's where you're kind of, can we call it human resources? That way it kind of started. Well, it started as recruitment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you pivoted into human resources, right? I guess, how did that happen? And I guess, why did you make that move?
So, good question. So I'd been in recruitment for a couple of years, and then I started hiring for like the Gucci Group, Yves Saint Laurent, Alexander McQueen, doing a lot of all their recruitment. Was really fun, spending time in the stores. And then that was back in 2016, I did my CIPD, which is basically like a HR qualification. I was like, actually, I want to figure out what else is out there in this world. Like, I know I'm good at this, but I want to know what else I can do. And I was like, my thing was like, I want to be a HR director before the age of 30. That was like the goal I'd set myself. So I thought a good way to do that is figure out, in HR, you know, you've got payroll, you've got HR systems, you've got recruitment, you've got talent management, you've got learning and development. And I thought, if I can know how all of those things connect, then that will set me up to be a good HR director. Because from what I've seen, the top HR directors are not great at everything. They just know how it works, but they've got experts in their team who are great at those particular things. So then I moved into a HR role at Stella McCartney.
Wow. That's okay. That's incredible. And what does somebody in human resource typically do?
Oh, how long do you have?
Or what do you typically do? In your role as a HR?
Honestly, HR is so broad, and sometimes I feel like people are saying, I hate HR, HR like police. Like, I've had it where in my companies, I walk into the kitchen and people are just like, stop talking. Or they're like whispering. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm just here because I want to make a cup of tea. Like, I'm not a job's worth. I'm not that bothered. So if I was to explain HR, long story short is, HR look after, protect, support, manage the livelihood that people have in the place where they show up to make money to fund their life, basically. So that's everything from hiring people into companies. That's everything from deciding who's going to get a promotion, why someone should be asked to leave the company, if we want to make the company more diverse. And my job that I do now is focus on diversity, equity and inclusion strategies for a global company. And then some part of HR is like training people, upskilling people. Okay, we really believe in this person's potential. They've never been a manager before, but we want to make them a manager. How can we take them from new manager to a manager who's killing it, understanding and identifying those gaps to get people to that to that level. So there's so many elements to HR.
Oh my God. So you deal with a lot of things.
People's problems, people's joy. And do you know what's so amazing about HR? You get to meet people when they're not even confident in themselves sometimes. You encourage them, you hype them up for their interviews. Next thing you know, that you see them getting promoted and growing in their career. Next thing you know, they might be going through like a relationship breakdown. They might have experienced a bereavement. They might be having a child. They might be a leader for the first time. And then some people get exited, and it's like, I'm on that journey with them. And that's what I've loved about the companies I've been at, because I've seen people go through all different cycles of their life, and they share that. So you almost become part of their story, like that season of their life.
It sounds like a privileged position to be in. You know, they should. So why shouldn't we be scared of HR?
So you shouldn't be scared of HR, because if you get it right, if you get the relationship right with them, they can actually help to make your life easier at work.
Fair enough. I've personally never been scared of HR. I don't see a reason why. People, I mean, I can understand if it's like from a point of view of like, okay, you're on the chopping block, but it's not like, okay, let's clear this up. HR don't make that decision, do they? Or who's on the chopping block, do they?
Most of the time, they don't. You've had direction come from a CEO.
Yeah.
So there's so many reasons why someone could be asked to leave, right? Let's say if it's a financial reason, the company's maybe not performing where they need to be at.
Yeah.
The leadership team may decide, actually, we need to reduce our margins by X amount. And one of the biggest costs for any company, depending on what type of company it is, it will be their real estate, like their stores, or their people costs ultimately, or their systems. So those are the areas that they normally start to look at. So then what they normally do is they come to HR with their problem, and then HR have to find a solution. So that's where conversations around org charts come up, or it's like, what capabilities do we need to deliver in certain teams? What skills do we need? What are the jobs of the future we don't even know about? And then I guess HR are problem solvers, and they find the solution. So to answer your question, no, it's not always their decision, but the leadership team need to partner with HR to do it in the right way, in a kind way.
Okay, wow. That's tough, man.
Yeah.
That is tough. Sorry. Sorry. I mean, you got a tough decision because that, and then you said promotion as well, which is like another
it's like two sides of the spectrum, honestly, working in HR.
Gosh. And I mean, we'll talk about promotions, because I know that's a big thing that a lot of people may be listening to this, and it's something that they... maybe not even mid-year, maybe end of year, maybe next year, maybe in a few years, that they can prepare themselves for. So, okay, so obviously you've been in HR for, over 11 years. What are like some of the key things that you've taken from it?
So what I found really interesting is just the different company sizes I've worked at. So I've been in a startup, in a middle-sized company, and in a large company. So, for example, in the startup, it was working with the CEO. He just had an injection of money, like millions, and they had like nothing in place. So that was a very entrepreneurial role, because it was everything from scratch. Like, I'm talking, people didn't even realize how to create a handover if they were going on holiday, all the way through to me designing a structure for different tiers and levels in a business, and what do people need to be doing at certain levels to get positioned at those levels, like to presenting to the chairman. And like, I've worked in bigger companies where I've been like very niche in a particular area, which I also love, because I'm like flexing that muscle and like getting better at that skill. And then I've worked in, like medium-sized companies where I've gone from a team of 4 to a team that like grew. I'm not good at maths. I'm not even going to try to do the X amount, but let's say the team grew a lot. So that for me was like, my role expanded so much. And it's like doing things I'd never done practically, but I knew I could do it, and I rose to the challenge. So just like, it's so varied. I just love being in creative spaces, which is why I've always mostly worked in fashion, because in fashion, people who work in fashion are just so fascinating. I think there's a psychological element of it where it's like, why do people do things this way? It's like, how do they come to this reason? It's like, if you work with musicians or artists, they're so like amazingly crazy. Like, it's just so fascinating.
Crazy idea. I mean, that's the creative parts, right? They have creative ideas and they have a vision where, like, this is not going to work. Surely not. And then it works. You're like, oh, this is bad. Okay, so I want to know this, right? About HR,
this was like a juicy question.
So what is one secret that HR professionals know that employees don't know?
So there's a couple.
Oh, there's a few.
There's a couple.
Oh, gosh.
I would say when it comes to getting promoted, a lot of people think, well, I think it depends obviously a lot of time on the industry. I think in some, in the big four or like financial firms or law firms, maybe you tell me what you think from your background in law. I think there's a certain culture, but most of the time, like I said at the beginning, you don't need to lose your soul to get promoted. And a lot of people think, okay, if you've got strength and you've got weaknesses, you need to really, really focus on your weaknesses so that you can get your weaknesses up to a certain standard. That is not the best use of your time, because if you've got a strength and you spend that same effort that you're using to elevate your weakness that you could have spent on your strength will go from average to spectacular. And then think about how you can position yourself. Like, it's less effort because it's something that you're already good at. Like, for example, if I said to you, okay, Atto, you're killing it with your podcast, help me now start a podcast, for example. Or if I said to you, actually, I'm thinking of getting into the car industry, can you help me set up a dealership? You would be like, okay. But because you already know the podcast game, you'd probably be like, actually, Ivy, let's go down this avenue. I've done it. I get it. I can refine this. We make it better. So people need to recognize, play to your strengths. It will be less draining for you. It will be more effortless for you. And then when you land in that state of flow, there's nothing stopping you, because then everyone starts to come to you as that expert. They see you as the expert. People are calling your name like, oh, do you see what Atto did? Oh my goodness, like Atto's killing it in this. And the more people that recognize you, they will speak your name in rooms when you're not even there. So just in summary, don't spend so much time on the things that you're not good at. Just be good at everything just because. Focus on your strengths.
Okay, you know what? I appreciate you said that, because you just remind me of, I think that's a great tip, and you're absolutely right. We have a limited amount of time, so like say, and this is what's interesting, right? So somebody, and we're gonna talk a little bit about this actually, the introverted stuff, right?
Yeah,
so
I'm looking forward to that.
Presenting for somebody might be like, oh, go and present, and then you're just spending months, a year, and you just don't get better, because all you could actually, maybe you're really good technically, you just spend time improving that, like.
It's so true, because like, to give you an example, when we look at tech, right, a lot of people work in tech are so good at coding, building. That's their niche. But when tech teams start to grow and they now want to make that coder ahead of a team of 10, so now they have less time to code. They're now overseeing the team, but they may not even be a good leader, because that's not what their expertise is. They are an expert in coding. And I think businesses owe their employees just spend time getting to know people. Not everyone's meant to be a leader. Not everyone's meant to have a team. Some people are just meant to be experts in their lane, and that is okay. And I think companies and people should just know, like, if you're good at one particular thing, it doesn't mean you can't get promoted. You just become a specialist at that thing that you're already amazing at. There's this thing called the 9-box grid, and ultimately it's a grid. So in the middle, you've got your average players, core players, people who show up and do what they need to do. At the top, you've got your rising stars, shining stars. These are the people who, okay, 6 months' time, 12 months' time, they're ready for a promotion. Or they might leave to go to another company because there's not something for them here yet. Then people at the bottom are the underperformers. So what normally happens in companies is they map their team against this grid. So right now there's mapping that's being done.
For real. And that's another secret. You should have said that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that mapping.
And
that's crazy.
You can go to your manager and be like, the 9-box grid, where do I sit in it? It's not, there's no reason why they can't tell you. And if your company is not a company that speaks about it, take it to a meeting with you, a one-to-one with your manager. Oh, I've come across this 9-box grid online. Where would you put me? And depending on let's say if they say you're an average player, you're a core talent, you could be like, right, okay, what do you want to see from me for me to be considered at the top of that grid as a rising star instead? And people should not shy away from these kind of conversations, because the information's out there.
Yeah, I like that. Wow, I've never heard of that. And that's so great, because imagine you don't have that in your company, and then you do bring that into your company. You're showing initiative, so they might even just promote you to the rising star, because look, you just brought this. No, but it's true, right? You're being proactive, right? Like, I think that I think like companies do like ideas, and something like that is I've never heard of that. So that's absolutely brilliant. I do know that companies I've worked at, they do the whole plot people on graphs, like they plot
It's
obviously
similar,
the highest
yeah.
performers, and they have their average. You know, your scale below performing. It's just like how you
Yeah.
mark exams, right?
Yeah.
Your average, you're above, and then you're below average. But yeah, that I love that. I might have to check that out. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about self promotion, because I feel
Yeah.
like some people feel like it's cringe. I think some people feel like, oh, Atto, we don't want to self promote. And I remember getting told early in my career, Atto, man, like this is what he said to me. He said, "You are shit at promoting yourself." Yeah, so I'm not gonna say names. He said, "You're shit at promoting yourself."
Oh, so I thought someone said you're shit at what you do.
No. Nobody's ever said that to me, fortunately. But no, he said you're shit at promoting yourself. And I only just thought about that today as we're talking about self-promotion. And I think back then I didn't realize how important self-promotion is. And I think effectively that's what he was telling me. Like, you need to, put yourself out there more. You're doing good work. You need to talk more about it, right? And people do struggle with that. So hopefully we can help them with that. When we talk about self-promotion, what does that mean for you in your career, and why is it important?
Yeah, so first thing I want to say is confidence is a currency in this world. And the thing about self-promotion, especially for anyone who's listening, who's grown up in the UK, is like, if you promote yourself, you're cocky, you think you're greater than thou, like you think you're spectacular. The thing is, you can end up being so humble that you fade into the background. And then you will see other people who maybe have half the skill or the talent, but it's just because they're so amazing at talking about what they do. So in a company, for example, you can have those people who are confident, they speak up all the time, and sometimes what they say might not even be the smartest thing, but there's something about them showing up and like giving ideas and putting things forward. It's the fact that they're vocal. I'm not saying you have to be the loudest, but just showing up with value to add and speaking about what you're doing. Even in team meetings, you can just be like, oh, guess what, Atto? I've been working on this. And I'm so excited about it because based on what I've been working on, I've been able to impact this department in this way, for example. There's nothing bad about that. You're just speaking about the good work you're doing, because you can spend so much time working in silence. No one knows, so then no one cares, and then you start to care because you haven't advocated for yourself.
It's so important, self-promotion. There was something you said and I was like, I need to respond to that, because honestly, no, it's the working in science. That was it. Oh my God, the average people. Gosh, the average loud talkers, man. How are they doing it? Like, there's so many people like that. And there was even something else that you were telling me, that you were saying, like, the managers, the managers, the ones that where they're like mad technical. Not everybody deserves to be a manager. I'm sorry. There's some managers that I've seen, I've worked with.
Just stay in your lane. It's okay. Just code. It's fine.
Not everybody.
We love your coding. It's okay.
I can't even string a sentence. Like, come on, bro. But yeah, look, the average people. No, honestly, them people are doing a trick. There's even some. Dare I say it? I work with certain directors, partners. I'm like, wow, how did you get here? How did you get here?
Yeah.
You're asking me all the questions. What is going on here?
No, it'd be like
so
that
it's crazy.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So what I feel like some people do, so you're in a meeting, right? No one's saying much, you're not really sure. But what some people are really good at, which anyone can do, an introvert can do this, is like, you maybe were shy to speak up in that meeting. But let's say if you set up a meeting with me, for example, there's 5 other people in the meeting. You've just said, Ivy, help me decide on who are the next guests I should bring onto my podcast. In that moment, I might not know. Other people might not know. There's going to be one person who's going to be saying names that are just not even relevant to what SAVVYWALLET's trying to do, right? So what I could do is, after we've spoken, straight away, I'll schedule timing with you in 2 days' time. So now in those 2 days, what I'm doing is I'm doing research. I'm looking at what other podcasts are out there. I'm looking at competitors. I'm looking at potential. Then what I can do is meet you with a presentation. If you don't want to try too hard, you have to do a presentation, but you can just come with some ideas. Like, Atto, I know in our meeting 2 days ago, you asked us for some ideas. I've taken some time to reflect, and here's what I think you could do. Here are some opportunities. Here are some areas I think you should consider. So you will remember me for someone who's taken initiative. For other people in the team, they will think, oh yeah, Ivy didn't say much. There's nothing going on. But me and you now know that I've given you some ideas. I know how to add value.
Yeah.
Even if I'm doing it so no one else sees, that's fine. But then what will happen is when we have the next week's team meeting, you'll be like, yeah, so Ivy actually followed up with me, brought these ideas. So because of Ivy's ideas, now we're going to bring on XYZ guests. So you're helping me advocate for myself. Then I could be like, yeah, you know, I worked on a presentation. I went away and did research. This was the approach that I took. So that's confidence because I've taken the time to really be intentional. I wasn't just throwing out names that wouldn't be relevant just because.
Yeah, and that can work quite well for, I know we're getting slightly earlier, but introverts, right? That
Yeah.
could work if you don't want to speak in a room.
Yeah, in front of people, yeah.
But you, like you said, you follow up with them as well in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't have to be the loudest in the
Yeah.
room. And even if people do speak, that doesn't stop you from going to, you know, the manager and saying, these are the ideas.
Yeah.
Like you said, I've done a bit of research. These are my ideas, etc.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like introverts are weapons. They are underdogs because the power that introverts have is they can step into any room, read the vibe, figure out where they need to place what they want to say, their energy, and it will just land so perfectly. But sometimes I feel with extroverts, because they get their energy from external factors so much that they put that as the priority before they then speak out about what they want to share. Whereas introverts don't need to do that. They can come with value straight away.
That's very interesting. So extroverts draw their energy. So they're almost like you're saying, they're relying on being talkers, being out there.
They're
You think,
so they're relying on getting energy from external things before they can figure out where to land their energy.
Yeah.
However, introverts, their energy comes from within. So whether the rest of the room are dead or whether the rest of the room are feeling nervous or however level, whatever they're feeling, introverts don't need to rely on that draw of energy.
Yeah.
They'll just step into the room and do what they need to do. It doesn't have to be loud, but that's why I say they're underdogs because they're so powerful. And I feel like introverts make really good leaders because they're normally in tune with how the people in their team are feeling as well.
Yeah,
And when you know how people are feeling, you know when it's the right moment to ask them things, when to not ask them things, when to know how to get what you want because you figured out a pattern, a routine of how a certain manager or person shows up with their emotions, maybe on a Monday compared to a Friday. They're analysing all of these things without even making the effort to analyse it.
Yeah. Is there any other things that they could do to, like, you know, self-promote themselves and make sure that they're not, let's say, not forgotten about when it gets to the promotion process, or, you know, opportunities as well, which gets you onto the path to promotion?
So always keeping a track of your wins, all the amazing things that you're doing is so important. Because when you get to your career meetings and your performance meetings, the last thing you want is to say to your manager, yeah, so, you know, I think I'm ready for this promotion. Firstly, we don't use the word think. We say, I know I'm ready. But then you don't want your manager to turn around and be like, oh, actually, no, Ivy, you're not ready. And then you're like, oh, but I've done so many things. Your manager will ask you, okay, what value have you brought? But if on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, you're keeping a log, keeping a record, that is like your power that you're going to use as leverage when you go into these career meetings. So then you can really intentionally speak about the value you've brought. And another thing is always ask your manager for their priorities and their goals for the year. A lot of people be like, yeah, I want to be a this, I want to be a manager, I want to actually have a salary increase. But I think sometimes what they're missing is thinking about how do you make your manager's life easier?
Yeah.
Every manager wants a team of people who make their life sweet. So when you know what your manager's focuses are, you can align your goals to your manager's focus. So when Joe Blogs or Karen comes to you and says, oh, Atto, Ivy, can you help me do this? You're like, actually, I can't focus on this as a priority because in your mind, you know this isn't going to get you closer to what your manager needs. So the more that you show up for the team's goals, your manager's goals, you're just positioning yourself closer and closer to getting promoted.
Yeah. Love that. So let's talk about undervalued, because some one of the reasons why people leave a company is because they feel undervalued. How does somebody get themselves into that unfortunate position?
So when you're starting at a new company, before you even say yes, obviously I know cost of living, everyone needs an income, but just really think about what is important for you in the company that you're going to work at. So to give you an example, for some people, yeah, it's money, because maybe they're getting ready to invest in something or buy a property. So in that moment, it could be finances. For some people, it's personal development, because they're like, you know what, I've been in a role, an industry I haven't been loving. So now I want to be a project manager. I want to transition from a customer service role. So for me, I want to be at a company that's going to pay for my prints too, a company that's going to give me training on the clock every hour. For some people, it may be location. Maybe they're caring for an elderly parent, so they need to be close to home. So there's so many different factors, things that we can go into. But when you know what is it that you're looking for in your company from the get-go, then you will feel more happy. You'll feel like you're a part of something, and you will feel valued. You know, it's like going into a relationship, but then getting with someone who's the complete opposite of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not going to be feeling them, because they don't even align to what you want. So it's a bit similar in the company that you work at. You need to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes people are not honest. Some companies sound flashy. Sometimes the numbers, the zeros are zeroing. So they're saying yes, but then 3 months in, they've lost their mental health. So you need to think about what is important for you before
Yeah.
you say yes to any sort of contract. And remember, when you're also going to work at that company, they deserve to have you just as much as you're excited to be there.
Yeah.
It's a two-way partnership. Like, our livelihood and when we go to work has such a big impact on our day-to-day experience. You know, people are getting Sunday scaries because they are dreading going to work the next day.
Yeah, that's
Like,
mad.
it's not that deep, and it should not be happening. So let's not do ourselves a disservice. Let's set ourselves up for what we are entitled to, and that's like fulfillment and being in a job that helps us create our rich life as well.
Yeah, but it's hard to do that in the cost of living crisis.
I
People are going to be
know.
like, oh, I've got bills. I live in a penthouse. I've got a Lambo, whatever they've got. I can't stop this life, but I've got to be miserable. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know what? I do agree. The fact is, we are at work more than anything else that we do in life, right? You know, and on the weekends, if you're unfortunate, you might even still be thinking about work.
Yeah.
So it takes so much of your real estate in your brain that you're right. It's got to be something that you enjoy, that you got to be happy, because
Yeah.
this is something that you're committed to, that you're doing week in, week out. You're doing year after year after
Yeah.
year. You've got to at least like it, right?
Yeah. Like, the place you work should not be causing you trauma. A company that was set up, established, some maybe even before you were born, you've decided to go there to give yourself trauma.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
it's not
mad though,
right.
right?
I know
Yeah.
for some people they can't get out because of so many commitments, but if you recognize that is happening, you should be working on an exit plan. Because I've seen it where people go to certain companies, they're happy, they're feeling good, the company's not turned out to be what they want it to be, but they
Yeah.
just stay. Misery loves company. There's other people who are miserable. Next thing you know, their confidence has deteriorated. They're now in therapy. Like, they don't even want to come to work, so now their performance is slacking. Imagine not performing well at a place that you don't even like. That's causing
That's the
you
worst
to
type of
lose your
place.
confidence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the thing is, once you leave that company, it actually takes time for you to recover and heal. You can literally get PTSD from being in the
Proper,
wrong
yeah,
place.
yeah.
And it's not worth it. That's why I think before you start, like, even when you're meeting companies, you're having conversations, ask them to meet you for a coffee. You've said yes to the offer. You got the contract. I'm going to sign, but I need to meet you.
Yeah.
We've met virtually, but I need to see what you're like in person.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, really get to know what people are like.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You're right. It can take a mental strain. You could lose trust in people. Do you know what I mean? You can just maybe second guess what people are saying. And a lot of companies, look, they're smart. They know nowadays though, we're fortunate because we have Glassdoor, so that's like a very transparent place, you know, that will I've seen some mad
Yeah,
I've
me
seen some
too. That's why
mad
I'm
Glassdoor
laughing.
stuff where people are saying the company will dress you. I saw one of the maddest ones I saw
Tell
was one
me.
in Dubai, right?
Yeah.
And it was saying that the company was spying on their people,
Spying how?
via their laptop, and
Yeah.
checking how long they were working on it, how much time they're away from it and stuff like that. Some crazy stuff like that. I was like, that's mental.
Yeah.
And ridiculous. What is that dictatorship?
There's a lot of tea on Glassdoor, you know.
Honestly, Glassdoor is the best thing to happen for employability over the last 10 years, because a lot of companies will say what you want to hear, and then you join and you're like, oh my God, it's toxic. It's
Yeah.
a lot is going on. they're not promoting people, all sorts of things.
The only thing I would say about Glassdoor is like when you leave a review on TripAdvisor or whatever, most of the time you're going to leave something when you've had a really bad experience.
Fair,
so
that's
even
fair.
though you're checking that out, just be conscious of that. So when you're interviewing, ask your interviewers the hard questions. And, you know, you can even just say something like, I'm really looking forward to hopefully working with you.
Yeah.
The job sounds amazing. I really want to be here long term. So I'd love to get a realistic view of how do you take care of your people when there's a crisis happening? How do you support people through crisis? So just, you know, questions like that, you'll really get to see what people are about and not just the values that they're thrown on their website.
Yeah, the values don't mean nothing. Sorry. Don't mean nothing. Anyone can write our values, but we need to show value.
Yeah.
The ones that I don't like, oh my God, everybody.
Oh, tell me.
Show up. What's the one? What's it? Bring your authentic self to work. Oh, sorry. I might have to cut out if my employer has that. But we all understand what that means. No, don't try that. No, don't.
So
I don't
do you
mean
know?
that.
You know the thing about that. If you really want to push, because you know, let's say for you, you're going through a lot in your life, but you really like this company. You're seeing we're a family. Bring your authentic self. So something you can say in the interview is like, look, I know you speak about your authentic self, but for you at this company, what does authentic actually mean? Like, tell me, because for me, these are the things that are important for me in my life. So morals, you know, working on projects that align with a better good. You know, whatever it may be, you've got to ask those hard questions in the interview. Because I think sometimes in the interview, people are like, let me just get through the interview as quickly as possible because I really need the job and I don't care whatever happens. I just really need the job. But you owe it to yourself. It's like a two-way conversation.
Yeah. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Appreciate that. So, okay. So when we spoke, you told me that a person's manager isn't only influential
Yeah,
person
exactly. Yeah.
in their network. Can you expand a bit on that?
Yeah, of course. So if you have an amazing manager, you're already winning. Like, you'd be surprised a lot of people don't have good managers.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be difficult when that's your starting ground. And I always think there's so much power in having a powerful trio. So you've got a mentor, a coach, and an advocate. So manager aside, your mentor can be someone in your company who knows the ways of working in your company, and you can speak to them in confidence about what's happening, how you want to get ahead, how you want to thrive, and they can give you advice. And normally a mentor is someone who's been doing what you're doing but for a couple more years.
Yeah.
So they've got the knowledge. A coach can be an external person, so someone who can guide you through a transformational experience. So they don't need to have like specific knowledge of your particular skill set. And then an advocate is someone who you can go to, like, speak about what you're working on, what you're doing. And I don't know if tell me, like, in your previous experiences, have you ever noticed those people, they don't manage you, they might not even be in your team, but like, oh, Atta would be a really good person to speak to about this, or actually Atta would be a good person to do that. That is your advocate. So when you have that powerful trio, they're people who are going to be supporting you along the journey. Some people don't even have a good manager and they have none of those three. So imagine someone who has a good manager and those three people in their back pocket, already you're steps ahead.
Yeah, man. So the person that has a bad manager, how do they navigate that conversation of getting out of that?
So it depends. If you think it's a situation you can't get out of, for example, you need to manage up. So let's say, for example, you've got a manager who's a bit scatty, they're always late, they come unprepared. You need to help them prepare. So you need to bring the agenda to the meeting. You need to remind them sometimes before the meeting happens. I know there might be people listening like, but that's not my job. I'm not paid to be their manager. But for some managers, you literally need to say, look, this is the way I like to work. I know you like to work in this way, but actually I don't feel like you're getting the best out of me. So you have to constantly go to them. And then on the other hand, if it's a situation you can get out of, just really understanding what type of manager is the manager that you believe will support you. So now before we spoke about like the 4 different types of energy. So like healthy masculine, wounded masculine, healthy feminine, wounded feminine. So those 4 different energies can also dictate the type of teams that you show up in and how you show up as well.
Okay, cool. And we're going to talk about the 4 energies soon as well. So in your 11 years in HR, what would you say are the attributes and behaviors the highest performing employees demonstrated?
Yeah, I love that question. So a lot of the time, the highest performing employees have recognized something before it's about to go wrong. They've come up with a solution and they are executing the solution, if I was to put it really simply. So they're always thinking ahead. They're visionary. You've got a lot of people who are the doers. if you think about it, pretty much anyone can be a doer. All they need is direction. But when you're setting pace, people are coming to you for the vision. And that's what sets a lot of high performers apart.
Interesting. So if you have a vision, so if you have a vision and execute it, are
Yeah.
you like a superstar?
You're like a
superstar?
star. You're an
Really?
adventurer at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. To be fair, the way you put it, that does make sense. Because if I think about like the beginning of your career, let's say you start off as a graduate, you don't necessarily know what you're doing, so you're going to somebody else for direction. Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And a
Oh,
really good way to
mad.
even, really simple way to remember it is think about architecture.
Yeah.
You've got the architect who designs the house.
Mm-hmm.
They know particular materials that will work. They know like what looks good. They know what needs to happen. Where's the light coming from? You've got your architect. Then you've got the builders, the people who know like how to graft, who know how to make it happen. Right? The people who know what bricks, how to place the bricks. And then you've got the interior designers who come in, make it look good. You need all three to have your building at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you can be a person who can be a visionary, which is the architecture, the doer, which is the builder, and also the strategic person who is the interior designer, then you are, a high performer. And in that 9-box grid, you're at the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk. There's 2 models you have.
Yeah.
The 4 energies and the 4-step framework. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the 4 energies first.
Okay, let's talk about that. Yeah.
So,
expand on what that is and how that applies to us in our career.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to explain it in a way. So as we're speaking about it, start to think about people that you know. Think about yourself. So in conversations, at work, in meetings, you are talking over people. You don't want to give other people the chance to speak up because you feel like you need to hold the setting, you need to hold the environment, you need to be in control because your ego would not want anyone else to be in control. That's a wounded masculine energy. Healthy feminine. So this is someone who shows up with energy. They are very comfortable. They're in flow. They're a good coder. They don't feel like they need to go to anyone else to understand what they need to do next. That's healthy energy. And even though I'm saying masculine, feminine, it's not gender related, it's just a good way to remember it. So a healthy masculine energy would be someone who, in a room, you are that person who, you don't mind if other people talk. You let people say what they need to say. But when everyone's done, you're comfortable to let them talk, but you say that one thing and everyone's like, damn, I didn't think of that, That is such a good point because you're coming from a healthy place. You're not needing to put other people down to rise up. And that's the difference between healthy and wounded. And then wounded feminine energy is like you're people pleasing constantly. Ivy, can you do? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. Ivy, when can you send? Oh yeah, I'll send it to you right now. Actually, Atto, when did you say? Oh yeah, sorry. Oh gosh, yeah. Let me not sleep and make sure I get it to you. So wounded feminine energy is like you just constantly want to please to the point that you're losing yourself. And in every workplace, we see these different energies show up. And even in ourselves, these things show up in different environments. How you may be at home or with your family could be very different from how you are at work with these energies, but it's important to recognize it because you need to know when to like flex within the different energies. And you need to, I guess, to thrive, you need to go from a state of unconscious competence to conscious competence. So you know where you are at with the different energies.
Okay, cool. And what does somebody do to, if they are in the wounded category, how can they kind of transition into that?
So you need to be really honest with yourself and just figure out why are you doing this. So if we were to go with the wounded masculine energy, like you're speaking over people, you want to make sure that you're the one who's constantly talking because you don't want to give other people a chance. Could it be because maybe you're not confident, so you want to appear confident so you don't feel like other people figure out that actually you don't really know what you're talking about? Could it be that you're nervous? Could it be that actually you feel like the other people in the room are not people that you want to even be spending time with? So just really figure out what is the reason. From a wounded feminine element, if you're constantly trying to please people, it's like, when do you dedicate time to yourself? When are you showing up for yourself? Why can't you do it? Is it because you've grown up in your like your childhood, in your early years where you never really had the chance to put yourself first in situations? So naturally other people's needs came before your own, and that unfortunately can show up in the workplace as well. And the thing is, when you're constantly that person who everyone just dumps on at work, Like, you will literally be the ladder that people step on to get ahead. And that's
Wow.
why it's so important to recognize where you're at as well.
Wow, wow, wow. You know, another thing that I want to touch on, I think it's on the wounded feminine.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for like talking about how you
Yeah.
can transition. Wounded feminine. I think it was a wounded feminine.
Yeah.
Like saying yes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think a lot of people, especially I would say somebody starting out in their career, right? They think that they need to say yes to every project, every
Yeah.
initiative because that's what they believe
Yeah.
will get them promoted, right? Just jump on
Yeah.
anything, right? But you don't believe that saying yes to everything is the right thing to do. Let's explore that.
So when you're saying yes to the things that you're saying yes to, this is where it goes back to understanding what are your manager's goals. If your manager's asking you to do a range of things and they're things that actually add value, that's different. If you've got Stacey and John Doe and all these random people saying, oh, actually, can you help me with all these random, basically the work that they don't want to do, there's a difference. Because sadly, a lot of people are going to try and like fob their work over to you
100%.
because they've seen you say yes before.
Yeah.
So at a company I worked at before, it was like, Ivy, can you help get batteries for the clock? Ivy, oh, actually, I think there's no milk in the fridge.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like...
That's ridiculous.
And I was thinking, okay, that's nice. Okay, well, this is not a priority. And there's something called the Eisenhower matrix. I don't know if you know about it, but it's like when something's important and urgent but not important, and then it's just understanding if you place it in a grid of 4, where does it sit? A lot of the time, things that are not urgent and not important, they shouldn't even be on your list. If something is urgent and important, fine. But if it's important and not urgent, it can go on your list a bit later. And if it's urgent, important, I think I've said all of them now, then that's something that you need to think about doing, but it's not top of priority either. It's the urgent that what we should be focusing on. So, you know, just checking in with yourself, looking at your list, the things you need to do, things people are asking you for, where does it sit in terms of priority, urgency? Is this even something that should be sitting with me, or is someone just trying to avoid doing something? You know, like I used to work with someone who was, oh my gosh, so good at Excel, so good, like it was sickening how good they were. And I could have gone down the route of, oh, let me just go to this person so they can build me all these things. And I felt like I was abusing it a bit. So I just started to YouTube it. How do you do all these VLOOKUPs, all these things? Because if they show me once, that's amazing. They show me twice, like, okay, I'm refreshing your memory, Ivy. But after that, it's like, why am I dumping on them? I should not be doing that. And I feel like a lot of the time people play the victim role at work, like how they do outside of work. And some people naturally take on the role of a rescuer. They always want to help people and rescue people. Before you know it, it's 5:30. That person's got their jacket on. They're out. And you're there like, damn, I haven't done anything that I said I was going to do today. Because you were so busy rescuing people who assumed that they needed saving, and you deprioritize yourself. Next thing you know, all their stuff's done. It looks shiny, and now they're lined up for a promotion and you're not.
That is deep and crazy because that can definitely happen at work. You see, work is like anything in life. It could be like relationships, your day-to-day life. People don't understand it. So let me not say it's a game, but there's a lot of planning that you have to do. You have to be very cognizant of what's going on and just not just show up and think that, oh yeah, it's just gonna, just happen. So the 4-step framework, right? Can you talk a little bit about that and what that is and how that helps somebody?
So as I've been looking back on my career, I've just been thinking about what are the things that helped me to thrive. So in one of my companies, I got promoted 5 times within 7 years. And it was very like, I wouldn't say easy, it was in flow state, meaning I wasn't being a try hard. It just happened. And as I've been helping loads of other women, like I've helped hundreds of women just figure out what is the perfect formula. I was like, yeah, it's RISE, like literally RISE. So R is about relationships. I is where you initiate. S is when you shine. And E is when you execute. Okay. So when you build relationships, I'm talking about your net worth becomes your network. Literally building the right tribe, building the right tribe, building the right circle around you at work. That is powerful. Initiate is, like I said, being a visionary, being the person who comes up with the ideas. Shine, S, is advocating for yourself. talking about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be at every, oh, guess what? Everyone, today I did this. No, it doesn't need to be that. But shining to the extent that people who are the influential people, so your relationships that you've built know what you're doing. And the ease when you execute, that is when it's just go time. You're delivering the next thing, delivering the next thing, and it just works so perfectly together. If everyone can try and focus on rise, like when you have the 4-step combination.
Yeah, that will help you out. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So that ties us nicely into somebody, again, we talked a little bit about undervalued, right?
Yeah.
So again, we want people maybe not to leave companies, maybe to switch their position and maybe increase their chances of getting promotion. So how can somebody go from like being undervalued to, you know, getting onto the path of promotion?
Yeah, and like Atto, let's break it down a bit. So what does undervalued mean to you?
So to me, gosh. So I feel like undervalued is overlooked. So maybe they're doing a good job, but they're not being recognized for the job. I think that's how most people would say they feel, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing a great job, but I'm not getting promoted, or maybe nobody knows that I'm doing good, basically.
Okay, so if you believe you're doing a good job, the first thing I would say to ask yourself is, are you actually doing a good job?
Okay, interesting.
So who said you're doing a good job? And if you feel like you know you're killing it, but you're not getting that acknowledgement, get some 360 feedback. So literally just picking people, and not the people you're cool with at work. Pick the people that you know there's a bit of friction there, because a lot of the time they give you the best feedback. Okay. You could literally ask them, what is it like to be in a relationship with me at work? What do you think I'm good at, and what would you like to see more of from me?
Yeah.
Ask a couple of people and see if there's any like repetition in what they're telling you. Is there any truth to, like, you may be thinking you're amazing, but are they saying to you you're late, you don't meet deadlines, you're making errors, you're not delivering? Because if they're saying that, then you've got like research for yourself to refine your process and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's one element of being undervalued. Like, are you actually doing a good job, like what you say you are? The second thing is, if you've got a manager who's always busy and maybe they don't even get to see the work that you're doing. Like, I know some people don't even get to spend time with their manager because maybe they're part of a really big team. Strategically, how can you get what you're doing in front of your manager and on your manager's radar? Does it mean that you need to intentionally put in time with your manager? Like, you're in the driver's seat of your career, so do you need to put in time with your manager? And it can just be like a quarterly check-in, monthly check-in. Hey, just want to share with you what I'm working on because I know we don't get much time together. A lot of the time, people don't have enough time with their manager. When they finally see them, it's like, here's my list, here's the things I need help with, here's all the things I want us to go through. Next thing you know, the time's over. Okay, see you in a month's time. So when you actually create protected time for your career, then that is away from your to-do list. So what I would recommend is just putting in maybe at the end of the month, and your manager knows this is your career chat. These conversations are for your goals. So that's another way, for example, if you've got a busy manager, how you can get them to see what you're doing more of.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So that's focusing on the value part. What about the promotion part?
Yeah.
What activities does somebody need to be doing to give themselves the best chance?
So we did speak a bit about it before. So it's initiating things, bringing new ideas, saving your company money, doing research on what competitors are doing, bringing value. You know, it's so easy if you are in a job that allows you to say you saved your company X amount of money. Not everyone's in a job like that. Some people are in jobs where their value is more qualitative. So in that case, it's like, because of what I've done, I've had this impact on this person. And because of my impact on this person, this is the impact on the company. So when you can show you've made an impact, you're valuable, and showing that if you didn't show up to work for a month, if things start collapsing, that's a good thing. But if you're not present and things just continue to keep moving forward like you weren't even there, then you need to think, hang on, what value am I really, really bringing? And, you know, sometimes people feel like, oh, I deserve a promotion because I've been here for 2 years. It's not about your tenure. It's about the value adding that you're bringing.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you need to tell your manager, look, I want a promotion in 6 months, a year? Do you need to be stating this?
Of course. I feel like you should, because if you look at it this way, you're wanting to get promoted.
Yeah.
Your manager's trying to get a promotion as well.
For real,
Everyone's
everybody's trying to get it.
Everyone's thinking about what is best for them.
Yeah.
So if you don't vocalize it, sometimes it will just delay you.
Yeah.
There are some managers, I will say, who are very in tune. They'll push you forward. They'll be like, Atto, you should step into this conversation. I believe that you can do it. Those kind of managers, I think, they're very few of them, but they are incredible. But not everyone will know how to manage in that way. So when you go to your manager, let's just say if currently someone's an assistant manager level, right? And they want to become a manager, what I would recommend is getting a job description of what you're doing now, what the manager job does, highlight what are all the gaps, because that's what I used to do, and I think it's so helpful, because literally in black and white you're seeing what are the gaps, what are the things I have not done yet. Then what I would recommend is in the next 3 months, set goals that literally fill and plug all the gaps that you've already seen between the two job descriptions. You go to your manager, and as an assistant manager, let's say, like, I want to get to a manager role. I recognize that I was missing these things. These past 3 months, I've been working on them. These are all the examples and all the things that I've done. Here's all the feedback I've gotten from these people I've asked. What do I do? What do I need to do next to become a manager? If a manager's like, oh, we need to give it a bit of time. Can I ask, what is the reason that you feel this way? What further time do we need? Oh, I just don't think, that you're ready just yet. Okay, well, I believe that I'm ready. I've been working towards this. Can you give me examples of what you want to see from me and timeframes? So I'm prepared and I will work towards these timeframes and I'll deliver them. And at that point, we will be then having a conversation about my promotion.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had this. So I've got a group with a few people that I used to work together with, and there was a question in there about extracurricular activities. I don't know if this debate has been settled yet, whether you need to do it to get a promotion or you don't need to do it. What's your opinion on that?
So there's valuable extracurricular things, and there are just, I can't even say that word, curricular, and there are things that are just a waste of your time. So if, for example, at the beginning of the year, you've set 4 goals, but you know that you're going to smash 7 goals, only put 4 in your goal setting with your manager. Because when you do those 3 extra things, you're over delivering, but you had already planned to do them anyway. Because what a lot of people do is they list out everything that they're going to do, all their ideas. So at the end of the year, when you've done it all, it's like your manager's like, well done, you're average, you're in the middle. You've done everything you said you're going to do. In your mind, you're like, no, because I did so many things. So it's like in life, a lot of the time you've got to under promise and over deliver. Okay. On the other hand, if you've done everything you said you were going to do, and you realise actually there's some big meaty things coming up at your workplace, think about, is this something that I can get on? And if I get on it, how is it going to make me look? What skills am I going to develop? What influential people are working on these projects? Because if you get in with them, you've got advocates for you once again. So just being so intentional. And this is why if you operate from a healthy feminine, healthy masculine place, you're not feeling like you're in a space of scarcity, needing to say yes to everything, throwing people under the bus, because you know that you're in your lane. That's all you should care about. So yeah, just to summarize, setting goals strategically so you could over deliver when really you knew we were going to do it anyway. Looking at the JD of the level above you, bridging the gap before your manager even asks you to do it, getting specific timelines, and also getting involved in other projects, new things that come up that make you look better as a professional or give you high income skills.
Okay. Love that. I want to look on the other side of why people don't get promoted. The disappointed people, right? Clarity. What are some of those reasons outside of budget reasons why somebody may be, passed over for a promotion?
So if we put budget aside, finance aside, because it's true, some companies will be like, oh, we can't afford it. I'm going to come back to that point later, because it's so interesting. It's like when you put in your resignation, that's when the money is now available.
Facts. The money becomes magical. It's magical.
Yeah, just it was available when you're that person. So if we go back to the people who are struggling with a promotion, let's say, for example, you are a PR assistant, you want to become a PR manager. A vacancy's come up, but maybe there's 4 other PR assistants in the team. Someone else got it and not you. A lot of the time, people just get angry. They become like demotivated. They stop showing up. I think that is a missed opportunity. If you were the PR assistant who didn't get promoted, you need to be spending time with that PR manager. Hey, congrats on your promotion. Like, how did you do it? What do you do? What does your week look like? What projects have you been working on? you wouldn't be a bit like a sponge and kind of figure out what they've been doing.
Yeah.
And then you start mirroring that. So in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, you go to your manager, it's like, look, I know there was a PR manager role available. I didn't get it this time, but I'm still really motivated and really excited to be here. I've actually been doing these things, the things that the PR manager's been doing. And I feel like, I'm actually been operating as an acting PR manager. And I'd love to understand how we can make it more official so that I'm ready to actually be recognized as a PR manager in this company. So like really simple. Some bosses might be like, no, we can't do that. We can only have one PR manager in the team. And in that case, you could be like, okay, I recognize there's only space for one PR manager. However, I've been looking at our current team's projects and I think there's opportunity to split the projects that we work on. So the current PR manager is currently global, but I feel like there's a benefit of me overseeing the USA because Asia has a completely different time zone. Can we trial it? Can I step up to this role? Assess me, give me feedback, and then let's discuss how I can be in this position officially. So you always want to be going with solutions, problem solving. You need to be coming up with ideas that don't even exist. When you get a no, it's like, okay, it's a no for now, but actually I'm coming back with some more ideas. So don't just get demotivated and think, you know what, I'm not going to do all this extra stuff. I'm not getting paid for it. A lot of the time you go to a new company, you have to spend time building that credibility again. So just think about what's more important for you to spend time acting in the role. You can get the title, you can leave as soon as you got the title if you're fed up with them, but at least you're leaving with the title instead of leaving as a PR assistant to then spend time grafting in a new company to then be recognized as a PR manager.
Yeah, that's facts. I love that. I love the tips, and I love the fact that you're almost putting yourself in a trial basis with your current manager. They'll be like, yeah, sure, if you fail, okay, it's on you, but if you succeed, win-win, right? So yeah, I love that. In terms of promotion, what's like a sensible amount to be asking for?
Honestly, it varies so much. It varies depending on the industry. It varies on like the step up that you're making. Some companies do like an annual, biannual slight increase. Some do not. So there's so many variables. However, a good way to figure out what you should be paid is to speak to recruitment agencies. So you go to them and say, look, these are the current deliverables of the job that I'm doing. These are the deliverables of the promotion I'm getting. Based on my experience, what is the market going rate for this position? So recruitment consultants are always speaking to clients, they're always speaking to candidates, and they will have the most up-to-date, accurate information. You can check on Glassdoor, you can do a bit of a Google, but sometimes it's just not always accurate, and recruitment consultants are always getting briefed on jobs. So what will happen is when you've spoken to that agency or recruitment consultant, get the range from them. So you know in your mind, you don't really want to go below this certain minimum. You've got your like ideal number. Everyone's got an ideal. You go, oh, okay, I'll accept this number. And then you've got, oh my gosh, if I get this, I'm laughing all the way to the bank. So just think about what is your number when you've spoken to recruitment agencies. So when you go into the meeting with your manager, it's like, I'm so happy that I've got this promotion. Thank you so much. I've actually done my own research and I understand at the moment in the market, this is the range for the deliverables of the job that you will be expecting me to do. Can we please have a conversation? I'm so motivated. I'm really excited. I also just want to make sure that it works well for both of us as well.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love that. Okay, so we know that, you talked about rich life, right? Let's talk about that. How does somebody live their rich life from a career point of view?
So I listen to and watch a lot of, do you know who Ramit Sethi is?
Yes.
So he speaks a lot about rich life. And what I find so interesting about what he teaches is your version of your rich life will be different from my version of my rich life. On the internet, everyone's like, buy my course, become a millionaire tomorrow. That's cool, but that's not everyone's version of rich life. And it's just such a shame that a lot of people have been made to feel this is the only way to be wealthy. There's a difference between wealthy and rich. I feel like people need to understand what is their number to feel content,
100%.
their number to feel fulfilled, and their number to feel rich, because they could be three different things. In different seasons of our life, that could change. So to give you an example, my version of my rich life could be having enough extra income to support family back home. It could be giving money to my parents. It could be having enough income so I can invest it into stocks and shares. It could be having enough to buy a property up in Leeds. Like, there's so many different variations. I don't need to be a millionaire to do those things.
100%,
Like the
yeah,
currency conversion from Great British pounds to CDs in Ghana is very, is very,
yeah,
it's
it's
very different.
profitable.
Yeah.
Let's just
So
say
there's
that.
different ways that I can experience a rich life.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes people do not reach fulfillment because they're chasing something that is just not attainable. And therefore they think they'll never be rich. It's like, I'll be happy when this. I'll be happy when I look like this. 100%. I'll be happy when I obtain this.
Yeah.
And if we're constantly in that I'll be happy when state, like this life is short. We will end up leaving this place without feeling satisfied. Can you imagine living on this world with all we have access to and knowing at the end of the day, oh, I wasn't even happy all that time because I was constantly chasing. And of course we have to be ambitious, because without ambition, you fall for nothing if you don't stand for anything, right? But then it's just recognizing you can still be wealthy as a corporate girly or corporate guy, whatever it is. When you work for someone, if you define what your rich life is, you can still live a thriving and fulfilling life as well.
Yeah, completely agree. It's really, like you said, it's about figuring out what works for you.
Yeah.
And like you say, figuring out your numbers, not other people's numbers, and not watching other people's numbers. Because you watch other people's numbers and you get to those numbers, like you say, you might not be fulfilled. It's it's crazy. Okay, so I've got two final questions for you, right?
Yeah.
So we obviously know that this market is, like I said at the start, it is absolutely crazy, right? And I'm sure that you must get a lot of questions today, right? So if you were advising someone to find their next job in this market, what would your advice be to them?
I would say don't just look for the job title of what you want to do or what you're doing now. Spend time to map out all your transferable skills. A lot more companies now are hiring in a unique way where they're looking at transferable skills over, oh yeah, this person had the exact same job title at this company. Because as you probably know, from company to company, job titles change. When you recognize what your transferable skills are, you can sell yourself in interviews based on the transferable skills. And be prepared to step out into roles that you never thought you would consider. But if the role deliverables are aligned to something that excites you, then go for it. So if I was to give you an example, let's go back to the PR example, right? A PR manager may be responsible for making sure a brand's products get placed into particular magazines. And that's exciting because you're giving that brand awareness across the world to all the readers. But then you're a PR manager, like, you know what, actually, I don't really want to be a PR manager anymore. I want to be working in events. So then if you go into events pitching yourself as only as a PR manager, actually, no, I'm going to challenge myself, but let me pick a completely different role that's not in the same creative field. Let's say a PR manager actually wants to work in HR. Okay. So transferable skills of PR and HR. If you're in PR, you work with people, you negotiate, you make things look good. In HR, you write communications to make messages engage with people, to touch people's hearts. You're constantly in communication with people and you are negotiating because you're taking employees on a journey with you. Those are transferable skills. Someone in PR may want to get into HR, but they're pitching themselves on their CV in interviews. Oh yeah, I've done this for a magazine, but focus on the transferable skills because that would get you into more conversations as well.
Amazing. I really love the fact that you said transferable skills, because you're right. We have so many skills that we kind of neglect or we take for granted and not realize that we can connect the dots on more jobs than we think that we can.
And there's so many jobs that will exist in 2, 3, 4 years that don't even exist now.
Yeah, and there's new jobs getting created all the time, every day, right? So, okay, so obviously you've gotten to the senior manager level, which is, is admirable. It's amazing.
Thank you.
What are the key things that you did that led you to reach that point in your career?
So we have spoken about a couple of them already. So one of the main things I would say, honestly, Atto, is just having audacity. So having so much confidence in what I can do, maybe sometimes even before I've done it, to know that I can do it. It's like there's no plan B, so I must be able to do it. Number one. Number two, putting forward ideas, solutions, being creative. just because someone is a boss and has so many years of experience, they may not always know the answer. So I remember even when I worked at Stella McCartney, when it was my birthday, I didn't even want to tell people. I was shy. I was like,
Mad.
I don't want people to know how young I am. So yeah, don't worry. Yeah, you don't need to know about my birthday. Oh my gosh, happy birthday. How old are you? Yeah, I'm in my 20s. Like, I was even nervous to tell people because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in a room with these people who've been in the game for so long. I used to think, am I meant to be here? And I was like, actually, no, I am, because I have position. Like, I always think God will never put you in a place where you're never meant to
Yeah,
be,
100%.
right? So having audacity, believing in your source, believing what God can do and where He can place you, and also just always thinking about what's next. So when I left Stella McCartney, that was like my favorite company that I'd worked at. Had an amazing manager, amazing team. I could walk to work, and I was getting a good discount. Like, it was really good. And I left that company to go to a startup that no one really knew about. But what they did is they built $1 million businesses for influencers using their branding to launch products. I was like, well, I haven't done this. I won't have a boss who knows anything about HR, but I'm going to step out of something that feels so good and so comfortable, because this is what life is about.
Yeah.
And I'm in a season in my life where I can take this bet on myself and I can go in there. I did it, I smashed it, and that chapter came to an end. So it's just really believing that I could, and other people can do things that often they don't set themselves up to do because they're limiting themselves as well.
Yeah, a lot of people have a limiting beliefs, and
Yeah.
especially in a career, you have to just be, like you said, confidence. And I think that's been really the theme of this conversation,
Yeah.
that you need to believe in your own
Yeah.
source, man. Talking about believing in your own source,
Yeah.
you've got an upcoming masterclass
Yeah.
that you're working on. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
And when
of
is it actually
course.
available as well?
Yeah, so the masterclass will be available from September.
Okay.
I've been, like I mentioned, I've helped hundreds of women. I do a lot of coaching, and it's taken people from feeling undervalued, invisible, to thriving, getting promoted, and living their version of their rich life. So I've got a free training that I'll share with you, so you can share the link as well. And that is literally, in that training, I speak about Rise. I speak about understanding those 4 steps. And even within that, you're going to get value. In my content, I give value anyway. So that masterclass will capture everything you need to know, from what to do to be recognized. If you're not getting recognized, how to position yourself without using too much energy and effort. So it's like the corporate life, but the soft life. And having a soft life as you're trying to thrive is okay. You don't need to think about climbing, hustling. Like, it's 2024. We're tired. We're tired, but we can
100%.
still live our rich life
Yeah,
when we strategically position ourselves, advocate for ourselves. And I'll include some templates in there, like how to negotiate salaries, because that conversation feels awkward for so many people. So that's what I've been working on. I'm so excited about it as well.
Mad. I think by the time, you'll tell me. I think by the time, it might not be out by then, but it's fine. We can retrospectively, and people end up following you as well.
Yeah. And the free training will be out.
Oh,
at the time.
when's that coming
So
out?
that will be ready. Like, it's basically finished. So
Oh, really?
that will
Okay,
be
so
available
that'll
for
definitely be
people.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
we'll have the link in the description, people.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out. And on that note, where can people find you? Obviously, if they want to follow,
Yeah.
check out your content and stuff like that.
Yeah, I show up on TikTok. That's where I post a lot of content. So you can find me there. The handle is at @IVMariaX. And a lot of my content's around how to go from feeling invincible, undervalued, to promoted and thriving in your corporate world.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ivy. This has been a fantastic conversation. I've learned so much. I think key things for me was definitely, I like I'm gonna call it the 9-piece chart, right? I like that. I really like that, because I think it gets you to think about where you are within your company. And I love the fact that you mentioned that you can have that conversation with your manager. I think it's very, very important. The second thing, confidence. I think confidence, it's so weird, because confidence is such an interesting thing, because I think a lot of people lack confidence because they feel like they're going to be embarrassed, but embarrassment is kind of all in your head anyway.
So, did you
Right.
know every day, this is based on research, humans, we have 60,000 thoughts a day.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I don't know the percentage, but a large portion of those thoughts are negative. So if you're constantly telling yourself, I can't do it, I'm not sure, oh, I'm going to look too cocky, or actually,
Crazy.
how's that person going to, like, the people who are constantly putting themselves down, you are you're shortchanging yourself when you could be rich. You could be receiving more. So it's like, don't shortchange yourself when there's so much destined for you.
Yeah.
And our thoughts really dictate our actions, and our actions dictate where we place ourselves.
Yeah.
And where we place ourselves dictates how we feel and whether we're fulfilled or not as well.
Amazing.
So I know we're wrapping up. I just wanted to say that because
is that your final words?
Yeah,
I was going to ask you
okay, yeah, let's
final
leave
words.
it as that then. Yeah,
No, I can
final
give you
words.
more if you want. If you
No, let's leave it as that.
yeah, I mean, because it's a
Mike.
good way to end it. I can't even lie.
Yeah, let's leave it as that.
All
then.
right, cool, Ivy. Look,
Yeah.
it's been amazing having this conversation with you. Thank you so much, listeners, watchers, for tuning in to this episode of the podcast, and we'll see you next week's episode.